Argentina is this massive country. It's the eighth largest in the world. You think of glaciers, deserts, jungles, right? But what about the places no one talks about anymore? Places where something just stopped. And the silence that rushed in to fill the void, it never left. So today, that's what we're going to do. We're going to listen to those silences.
So what does happen when a town just vanishes? I mean, that's the real question here, isn't it? We're not just going to be looking at a bunch of crumbling old buildings. No, we're going much deeper than that. We're on the hunt for the ghosts of so-called progress, the echoes of dark ideologies, and the raw, unpredictable power of the natural world. We're going to explore this by looking at three totally different kinds of ruins, three kinds of silence. First up, we'll see the towns that got left behind when progress just packed up and moved on. Then we're diving deep into the secrets hidden inside these incredible grand old hotels. And for the grand finale, we'll witness what happens when nature decides to literally swallow a place whole.
Okay, first up, the end of the line. Let's start with this idea. What happens when you cut a country's lifeline? I mean, just sever it completely. For a huge part of Argentina, for a very long time, that lifeline, it was the railway. Okay, so this timeline you're seeing, it's not just a series of dates. It's the story of a national dismantling. I want you to picture this. In the middle of the 20th century, you have 47,000 kilometers of train tracks. These weren't just tracks. They were the arteries of the entire country. For millions of people, the train wasn't some luxury. It was everything. It was their only link to the outside world. And then 1993 hits. The whole system gets privatized. And what happens? Well, pretty much all those rural lines that weren't making a big profit, they were just shut down. Just like that. The lifeline was cut. And you can really feel the human cost of that decision in a place like the town of Patricios. I mean, this was once a thriving spot, a real agricultural hub with about 4,000 people. Its whole reason for existing, its entire economy was built around that railway. So when the train stopped coming, well, the town didn't die in a day. It was this slow, painful death, just fading away as families left and businesses closed up shop for good. And this right here, this is the heart of it all. This is Osvaldo Curtis. He was the town's railway mechanic his entire life. He's 88 years old, and he still lives there, right in the middle of the ruins of the world he helped build. And for him, it wasn't just about losing a paycheck. It was the death of a promise, the silence where the sound of the future used to be. So, the silence left by progress, that's one kind of ruin. But some ruins, well, they hold the echoes of something much, much darker. We're about to shift gears here, from economic ruin to ideological ruin, and we're heading to some grand hotels with some very serious secrets. All right, check this out. Back in the first half of the 20th century, the Hotel Edén was the place to be in Argentina. Seriously, we're talking the absolute height of luxury. Imagine Carrara marble staircases, a guest book signed by people like Albert Einstein, a young Che Guevara, Argentine presidents, basically the global elite. On the surface, it was this unbelievably glamorous resort. But behind that glittering facade was something else. Something really shocking. Get this. This is a quote from a declassified FBI memo signed by J. Edgar Hoover himself. It says, "This hotel was the most probable place in the entire world to find Adolf Hitler." Let that sink in for a second. The director of the FBI thought Hitler might be hiding out at this luxury resort. So how on earth did that happen? Well, it turns out the owners, a German couple named the Eichhorns, were huge Nazi supporters. I mean, diehard. They actually met Hitler way back in 1924. They were funneling money directly to his party from Argentina and using their hotel as a kind of Nazi base of operations in South America. They would even blast Hitler's speeches from the hotel roof. So this public face of luxury, it was all a cover for its secret purpose, a hub for one of history's darkest ideologies. And what's really wild is that the Hotel Edén wasn't a one-off, not even close. You go a province over and you find the Grand Hotel Vienna. And guess what? It's the same story. German ownership, documented Nazi ties, and today it's got this reputation for being intensely haunted. So you see, these weren't just fancy hotels. They were outposts. They were part of a network that, after the war, helped high-ranking Nazis escape justice using those infamous rat lines to get to South America. Okay, for our final section, we're shifting gears again. We're turning to the raw, overwhelming power of nature itself. And I have to tell you, These next two stories, they are some of the most unbelievable tales of irony and survival you will ever hear. 72 days. That's how long the survivors of that infamous 1972 Andes plane crash fought to stay alive. You know the story, right? Trapped in the snow, thousands of meters up in the mountains. An absolutely incredible story of human survival that most of us are pretty familiar with. But here is the part of the story almost nobody knows. 21 kilometers. That's it. Just 21 kilometers from where they crashed, an entire luxury hotel was sitting there, abandoned. The Hotel Termes El Sosniado. It had thermal pools, shelter, everything they needed. And it had been empty for almost 20 years. A sanctuary, a place that could have saved them, was right there, just over the next ridge, totally out of sight. The irony, it's just staggering to think about. But as mind-blowing as that is, our final story about nature's power might just top it. It's about a town called Epecuén, and this town's whole identity was built on water. It sat on the edge of a lake that was 10 times saltier than the ocean, and people came from all over for its famous healing properties. The water gave this town life, and then it took every last bit of it away. So here's what happened. November 10th, 1985. A freak storm breaks the dike holding the lake back. But it wasn't this big Hollywood-style flood. No, the water just crept in. It rose slowly, unstoppably, at about 1 centimeter every hour. Can you imagine watching that happen? Within 2 weeks, all 1,500 residents had to get out, leaving absolutely everything they owned behind. A few years later, the entire town was gone, submerged under 10 meters of hyper-salty water. 24 years. For almost a quarter of a century, Villa Epecuén was Argentina's own version of Atlantis, a complete ghost town at the bottom of a lake. An entire community, its hotels, its homes, all those memories, just wiped off the map. And then, in 2009, something started to happen. The waters began to pull back, and what they revealed, honestly, it looks like a scene from another planet. You had these dead trees just caked in white salt, rusted-out cars sticking out of the ground, and the literal skeletons of buildings, bleached of all color. Just this surreal, white, silent landscape. And into this bizarre post-apocalyptic world, one man came back. His name was Pablo Novak. See, he was born there, way back in 1930. He'd helped build a lot of the town with his own hands. And when the waters finally went down, he just came home. He moved back to live among the ruins, all by himself. For years, Pablo was it. He was the town's only resident, its last living memory. People would see him riding his old bicycle through these empty, salt-crusted streets. He lived there until he passed away in January of 2024, at the age of 93. And in a bit of sad poetry, on the very same day he died, the government made it official. Villa Epecuén was declared a deserted village. So after all this, after seeing towns abandoned by progress, secrets hidden in hotel walls, and places completely swallowed by water, what are we left with? What do all these stories of silence really tell us? Well, what they tell us is that these aren't just empty spaces. Not at all. They're like archives. They're archives of ambition, the kind that builds a national railway. They're archives of failure, the kind that sees a hateful ideology crumble into dust. And most of all, they're archives of the incredible, stubborn human will to just endure. The will you see in people like Oswaldo Curtis and Pablo Novak. Because in the end, maybe a country, or any community really, isn't just defined by what it builds, but also by what it leaves behind, by what it chooses to forget or is forced to abandon. And it kind of makes you wonder, doesn't it? What stories are hiding in plain sight, right around you? What silences are just waiting for someone to finally come and listen?